Good evening. It's your step cousin's little brother's girlfriend's favorite podcast, the Debt Row Pod, episode number 21. We're looking ahead to week 14 tonight, and I'm just going to say it right off the bat so we don't have to mince words, Brad. If you came to see any Steelers versus Patriots breakdown, you have come to the wrong fucking place.
Yeah,
Because
ain't gonna happen here.
we're not talking a single second about that game that Al Michaels is going to trudge his way through tonight. I'm sure he'd much rather be at St. Elmo's having a well done steak. I'm pretty sure that's how he likes his steak.
Yeah.
I'd be remiss, but how you doing tonight, Brad?
Oh, not too bad. Getting ready to jump in here and look ahead to week 14. Some pretty exciting games coming up to talk about. So stoked.
Let's get into the most exciting one right off the bat. We have Philadelphia and Dallas. Dallas fans are holding out hope for this being a game that's going to have divisional importance. We've talked ad nauseum about Philadelphia's remaining schedule and how that still seems far-fetched with Dallas still having Detroit and Miami on the landscape. But Dallas wins this game. They're still alive in that division. If Dallas loses this game, it is, as Vince Carter would say, over. It is absolutely over because Philadelphia will have a 2-game lead with games against Seattle, the Giants twice, and the Cardinals left. So the game on Sunday night where Kerry brings us home is not to be understated at all in terms of importance.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, Dallas's schedule coming up gets really tough compared to the Eagles' schedule, which gets pretty easier. I think the game against Seattle might be a little bit more of a competitive game than I think a lot of people might suggest it will be. But I think this is a must win for Dallas in terms of keeping their hopes of winning the division alive. So that's why I'm kind of leaning Dallas a little bit more in this game. I think they've just been playing better football overall. I know that, Philly has, won a lot of games this year, but they just haven't looked as dominant as they did last year. And I think they showed a lot of cracks this past week against the 49ers. Jalen Hurts doesn't look 100%, so that's something, kind of keep an eye out on. I think he's gearing up to play, but I don't see a scenario where he misses this game. So I think that he's going to play, but how big of a factor he's going to be in terms of the abilities that he can bring to the game, how is that going to kind of hinder his game a little bit? Especially against the Dallas defense that's really good. So that's something also keep a close eye out on. But I'm loving Dallas in this game. They've been playing really well. Dak has been, consistently getting better, I feel like, every week. And especially this offense too, they're starting to kind of get in rhythm with some of the weapons they have around, not just CD, but Ferguson, Cooks, Pollard too. They're all starting to kind of get in rhythm a little bit more than I think they did earlier this year. While as Philly's defense, they haven't consistently shown that they could be the unit they were last year, and they've had some key injuries on that side too. So I think Dallas is looking for revenge in this game. I think this is going to be a really exciting game. Thank God this is a Sunday night game because I couldn't take another another crappy ass Sunday night game. So I'm loving Dallas in this game. I would probably lean the under just because I think division games tend to always hit the under. It is a lot of points. I think they're definitely basing off of the last time they matched up with each other. But like I said, with Jalen Hurts, being injured right now, and I would also say too, I feel like Philly's confidence has been kind of shooken because they got their asses kicked against San Francisco. Something that I think this unit really hasn't had done to them probably since probably when they lost in the wild card game to Tampa Bay. But they didn't have a lot of key players on that team that they do now. So I think it's going to be very fascinating to see how Philly kind of responds to after last week. But I think Dallas right now is just playing really good football. I think their mindset is to still win this division and even potentially even get the first seed if that becomes an opportunity. So yeah, I'm loving Dallas in this game.
I think the reason the total is so high, these two defenses combined to allowed 77 points last week. 35
Yeah,
points allowed
yeah,
by Dallas. Philadelphia allowed 42. And
yeah.
I want to ask you, I would assume being an avid NFL watcher as you are, I would assume that you see David Carr's comments this week about Marcus
Oh,
Mariota?
yeah, yeah. He should be playing instead of Jalen Hurts. Get the fuck,
No, no, no,
dude.
no,
The
no, no, no,
Carr
no, no.
brother.
I'll take it a
No,
step further. He said Marcus Mariota would be better.
oh god, dude. The Carr brothers, get them the fuck out of my face, dude. Get them the fuck out of my face. The whole Carr family, dude. I they've implemented their way into the Saints, and now they're implementing their way into social media and giving these dumbass takes, bro. No, bro. Better than fucking Jalen Hurts.
I
Give
thought
me a
that was
one-legged
crazy.
Jalen Hurts over Mariota, dude. Like,
How many
no.
times have we given Mariota a chance to succeed in this league? Like 100?
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, hell, they kind of had an opportunity last year in the South to kind of win the division with Mariota, and it just did not work out. I mean, hell, Desmond Ritter eventually took over for him as a starter. So, like, no, no, not it's not. And listen, I mean, if Mariota does play, then God, give me Dallas plus 10, I mean minus 10, dude. I mean, like, I think it would be a slaughter fest if Mariota plays. So,
Yeah, they couldn't keep
God,
up.
yeah, for Philly, I hope that doesn't happen, but yeah. No, that's just ridiculous. That's just ridiculous.
It does. It sounds ridiculous at face value, but I also believe that it absolutely is. Like, I mean, you've won 10 games, and like how Josh has said on the pod before, like you can kind of see the likeness to last year's Vikings just in the manner in which Philadelphia has been able to win these games. But you can't
Yeah.
argue two things. They've been able to come back and they've been able to be clutch, but the defense, 28th in the league in pass defense, 24th in the league in points allowed per game.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts isn't out there on the field for those snaps.
Mhm.
How well can you be saved by a defense that's just allowing chunk play after chunk play after chunk play?
Yeah. Yeah.
Nevertheless, biggest game of the season for both of those teams at the Star on Sunday night. Another team whose season seems like it's hanging in the balance are the Buffalo Bills. And we're not going to get into whatever the fuck Sean McDermott had to say or whatever.
Yeah.
That was leaked today about I don't even want to go into it. But
Just know
Kansas
if you
City,
haven't heard about it, it's ridiculous.
it's ridiculous.
It's yeah.
You look it up yourself because we have no comment on this podcast. Um, Can, Kansas City is laying a pretty short number. I cannot remember the last time Kansas City was this short of a favorite. I don't even remember if they were this short of a favorite at home against Philadelphia. It feels like it was probably right around this number, 1.5, 2.
Yeah.
Um, that tells me something though, because it feels like the books are giving a life preserver to Buffalo one last time. They have believed in Buffalo all season. They laid a big number against the Jets. They laid a big number against the Broncos. They laid a big number against the Raiders at the beginning of the season. They were 2.5-point favorites against the Dolphins the week after the Dolphins hung 70 on the Broncos.
Yeah.
I mean, Vegas has consistently given this Buffalo team a life raft. That is exactly why I'm not touching this game on either side, because the
Yeah.
number does feel too short. Like
Mhm.
it feels too short, which makes me believe that maybe the Bills are the side, ironically enough.
Yeah.
However, I can't in good conscience take Buffalo. They find a way to lose games. They have found a way to
Yeah.
lose games all season long. And at this point, as much as I wouldn't like to back Kansas City either with the stone hand receivers they have on the outside, I'll have a glass of whatever the drink of choice is that day, and I will sit back and watch this game in silence. That's my
Yeah.
play for this game. I'm not enthused to play either side.
Yeah. I think if I had to, I probably would lean towards Buffalo. And I know that's crazy to say because I feel like they've been killing me every time I I bet on them. So Yeah, I honestly think it's probably because how Kansas City played this past week against the Packers. I didn't really see that coming. I thought the Packers these past few weeks have been kind of good, but not the level to beat Kansas City, which was kind of surprising with their defense because their defense has been playing really well. So, Buffalo's offense is capable of scoring points. I don't think that's something to kind of worry about because they've shown that they can consistently put up points. It's just their defense just can't stop a fucking nosebleed. So yeah, I don't know. I would probably lean towards Buffalo just because right now I feel like Kansas City is a little bit tougher to trust right now just because their defense has been kind of letting them down. Their offense, especially their offense, dude. I, their receiving problems just continue to grow. Something that they should have addressed before the trade deadline, and they just refused to. So you know, I feel like that's probably the reason why because Kansas City really hasn't felt that dominant um, in the past game, while Buffalo's felt a little bit more dominant with Davis and Diggs and oh man, they have another receiver I can't remember Shakir. I think that's his name. I'm pretty sure that's his name.
Khalil Shakir, the fighting pride of Boise
Yeah,
State.
yeah, dude, he's been playing really well this year too, and especially Kincaid as well. He's been playing, pretty phenomenally. So I don't know. I'd probably lean towards Buffalo. I would probably take the over because I think this game has capabilities of being a very high scoring game. Both offenses, while Kansas City has struggled, I never doubt Patrick Mahomes, and I feel like even with him and just Travis Kelsey, they can put up points. But yeah, I'm probably gonna lean Buffalo. That probably come back to bite me in my ass. I've said that quite a lot this year on the pod. So yeah, but I would probably lean Buffalo on this one. I feel like their offense is a little bit more explosive right now.
It does feel that way. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Buffalo wins this game, but I mean, bro, like
Yeah.
I cannot, in good conscience, take the Bills, knowing what they have done to bettors all season.
Yeah.
Um, who would have? We would say CJ Beathard versus Joe Flacco at First
Oh,
Energy Stadium. -3 is the line for the Cleveland Browns hosting the Jacksonville Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence is going to be back, I think, at some point because I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt, given how he has played through many injuries. He's played hurt
yeah.
almost I wouldn't say his entire career, but a very large bulk of his career. And he'd never missed
Yeah.
a game up until this. He's never missed a game up until this week. I think the line is what it is because we don't know what we're going to get from CJ Beathard. I would expect a lot of screens and a lot of short passing game kind of optics from Doug Peterson in this offense.
Yeah.
I'll say this, though, and I don't feel great about it, but if I have a lean, I think this number is way too low as far as the total goes. I think it's going
Yeah.
over 31.5. Cleveland's defense showed some major cracks last week. I get it was against a very comfortable Matt Stafford who had all day to throw. But Jacksonville's defense, my God, they made
Yeah.
Jake Browning. They made Jake Browning look like Tom Brady on Monday night.
He looked like the second coming of Joe Burrow, dude.
Good Lord. He looked phenomenal. And
Yeah.
while I'm willing to say good props to Browning, this Jacksonville defense is ranked 30th in the league in passing yards allowed per game for a reason.
Yeah.
Cleveland, I thought, looked capable on many possessions with Flacco pulling the strings, but these fucking receivers got to catch the goddamn ball. I mean, the last 2 weeks, I don't have the exact number, but just watching both of the games the last 2 weeks against Denver and the Rams, it feels like they've had 100 drops.
Oh
Like
yeah.
they
Yeah.
just drop after drop after drop. Elijah Moore, Amari Cooper, David Njoku are all just putting the ball on the ground. If they're going to win this game comfortably, like a lot of people expect them to, and cover this number at -3, Brad, you gotta fucking catch the rock, right?
Yeah, I mean, and that seems to be a big problem throughout the league right now. A lot of teams are struggling. A lot of receivers in the league right now are struggling with drops. Um, but yeah, I would probably lean with you. I kind of like Cleveland in this game. Jacksonville right now, especially, this past Monday, it just felt like their whole season was kind of just like crumbled once, Lawrence went down. You could just feel the whole team kind of be deflated a little bit after that, and they're having to travel this week, on a kind of a short week against Cleveland Browns defense that's been kind of hit or miss. Some weeks they'll look really good, and following week, they'll give up 30 points to Gardner Minshew. So like, I, I don't know. I'm probably with you on the over. I feel like the over probably is a play on this game. Both defenses, haven't really lived up to the potential that I think that we all thought they could. But yeah, I don't know. Especially Jacksonville's offense. I think right now they just without Trevor Lawrence, I mean, with Trevor Lawrence, they didn't look as dominant as I thought they would coming into this year. I really thought Trevor Lawrence would be playing a lot better than he has been. So you take that element out, that's not already, playing to his potential. You take him out, and what are you left with? So I don't know. Yeah, I probably am leaning Cleveland pretty heavily on this one. And especially with Joe Flacco, he's a trusted vet, so you're not going to worry too much about it. And like you said, I thought he played pretty well for the short amount of time that he had. Getting adjusted to the team, to the playbook. So with another week of preparation, I think that he'll play a little bit better than he did last week against the Rams. So, yeah, I mean, and that's also a big factor that you said. A lot of receivers dropping the ball. You can't let that happen. And I'm sure this game will probably be a cold weather game, so that's another factor to bring into it. So, yeah, but I'm probably leaning with you with Cleveland. I like them a little bit more. The over is pretty enticing, so I might look at that. But yeah, overall, Cleveland, I think right now is just in a little bit of better position, which is crazy to think. But with a trusted vet at the quarterback position, I feel a little bit more comfortable taking Cleveland.
I probably would too. Um, I probably would feel the same way. I think that Jacksonville is a curious case, but I mean, dude, they're undefeated on the road this year for whatever reason, but
Yeah,
obviously that's with 16 under the helm. Um,
yeah,
so talking about the game that Jacksonville won last week, we're going to get another peek at Jake Browning against a bad defense this upcoming
yeah,
week um, against Cincinnati. And we have ourselves another duel between star-studded quarterbacks. It's Gardner Minshew versus Jake Browning. I mean, dude, this is
yeah,
week 14 in the NFL at its finest. However,
yeah,
a big playoff game for both of these teams. Um, I'll say this: the total feels about right. We're at 44, and Indianapolis is 10-2 to the over this season. Right now, Indianapolis has been one of the most consistent over teams in the NFL. And I'm trying to see right now when the last time an Indianapolis game did not clear the total. If you look at their last few games, you had 59 points this week against the Titans. It was the Patriots game definitely didn't because that finished 10-6. And then let's see, did the Ravens so the Ravens game in week 3, 22-19, total was 44.5. And then the Patriots game in Germany finished 10-6. And there are your two games that failed to cover the total over this season for the Colts. I don't know how you could believe that this is a week where that slows down. I mean, Jake Browning is going to be able to pick his spots, I believe, again in this game. However, I have been a major fader of Indianapolis in the last few weeks, and they have burned me. I faded them against the Bucks. I faded them against the Titans. This team very quietly has won 4 games in a row after losing 3 in a row against the Jaguars, Browns, and Saints. a stretch in which they allowed 37 or more points a game in all three. Since then, 4 straight wins, not really against quality opponents, though. You had Carolina, you had New England, you had Tampa Bay, and you had Tennessee, in which the Colts have won all 4 of those games. So can we see them do it against a quality opponent? I'm not sure. But at this point, we might not have to. Their final 5 games at Cincinnati, Pittsburgh at home, at Atlanta, Las Vegas at home, and in what could very well be the Sunday night last game of the season, the Texans at home for the final game of the season. I do like Indianapolis. I don't feel great about it. I really don't. But Cincinnati's defense, both in the bottom 6, in basically 6th to last exactly in pass yards and rushing yards allowed per game. Only 22nd in the NFL in points allowed per game, but yeesh, the Colts 27th allowed. I don't see how this game does not, even with 2 backup quarterbacks, I could comfortably say I think this game is going over the total of 44.
I kind of love the over on this one. Both offenses, while the Bengals haven't really been able to really showcase what they have on offense with Browning, this past Monday is kind of an indicator, if anything, that they are still capable of putting up points without Burrow. So I'm kind of liking the over on this one. I really like the over on this one, especially with the Colts, man. They find ways to score points. And it's kind of shocking too, because when Richardson went down, I kind of thought that their style would kind of go out, and they would, be kind of hindered from what, Minshew would be able to bring to the table. But they found ways to put up points even in the losses that they have this year. And I'm probably with you too. I like the Colts in this one. I would lean the Colts. They played really good last week against the Titans, who I've been saying it all year. I feel like the Titans have a pretty sneaky, good defense. Pass defense, not so much, but their run game is really good. So and the Colts are kind of primed in position to make the playoffs. I think what right now they hold the 7th seed, don't they? I'm pretty sure, yeah. So they hold the 7th seed, so they hold their own destiny to make the playoffs. So I feel like this is a must win for them to keep that momentum going. And yeah, I mean, I'm liking the Colts on this one. They have a lot of playmakers around their team as well, and they've been one of those teams too that've been finding ways to win, and especially with them kind of in the balance of making the wild card spot, this is kind of a must win for them as well.
It's a must win, I think, definitely for the Bengals, but the Colts and able to keep pace in what's been an absolute dogfight in the AFC. But I mean, come on now, like you got teams breathing down your neck, the Broncos, the Texans, even the Bills. Like the Bills going to win. I mean, who wants to doubt them going over into the last 5 weeks? Another game in which on the total side, on the spread side, I don't want to touch, even though it feels like the pick is obvious. But however, I say all the time on this podcast, Lamar Jackson is not great as a favorite. The Ravens are laying 7.5 at home. 40.5 is the total. What Rams team are we going to get? Are we going to get the Cowboys Rams team, or are we going to get the Rams team that we saw these last 2 weeks? You would think that you would lean towards the team that we've gotten the last 2 weeks because it's the last 2 weeks. I mean, they put up 38 2 weeks ago, 36 this past week against Cleveland. You're not going to do it against Baltimore, especially at the bank. But I feel like a lot of people would see this number and jump on the Rams. That's exactly why I'm not crazy about either side, Brad.
Yeah. It is a lot of points, and especially, the Rams coming off their win against the Browns, which, we kind of talked about how the Browns defense is kind of a mixed bag. Baltimore's defense is not a mixed bag. They're legit. And usually what happens with the Rams is, they play these teams that are kind of in the mid tier of the NFL, and they play these defenses that are kind of like mixed bags, and they put up a lot of points, but when they play teams that are actually really good on defense, they're just stalling out. So against a Baltimore team that is still, you know, I feel like trying to contain their own destiny within the AFC and getting the first seed. I feel like this is a game where they're going to come out here and you know, make it sure that, they don't have the Rams running the ball on them. Because I mean, Williams had a really good game 2 weeks ago and this past week. Puka has been playing well. So I think the biggest thing for them is, coming out here defensively and trying to shut it down because the Rams are capable of putting up points. I don't think that's a lie or anything because I mean they've shown to do it. But like I said, just against good defenses, I feel like they never really find ways to do it. And I don't think that's really gonna change against the Baltimore defense that, is pretty good. I think statistically, I mean, you see right there, statistically, they're not that great, but I think, when you watch them, they play really good football defensively. So well, actually, these are the Indianapolis and you're good. You're good. Yeah, I would probably lean towards Baltimore in this one. I know that is a lot of points. I mean, you know, with the Rams, like I said, they can put up points, but I just think with this Baltimore defense, they've been playing really well. So I don't really see a scenario where it changes for the Rams offense when it comes to them playing really good defenses.
I don't know what to expect in this game. I mean, I
Yeah,
think that the Ravens have shown that they're very capable against the NFC, especially at home. Like they did
yeah,
what they did to the Lions and they did what they did to the Seahawks. But and I'd put the Rams closer to the Seahawks on that scale. But
mhm,
I mean, man, at this point, you just don't know what you're going to get. Sometimes the Ravens laying big numbers just cannot be trusted. And
yeah,
I feel like we're going to get some of that in this game. Uh, the trend continues with big games for teams, and this one is no different. If the Bucks want to stay alive in the NFC South, this is their only chance to do it. It does feel
yeah.
like it feels like, and we'll talk about this game at the very tail end. It's talking about New Orleans and Carolina. It feels like New Orleans should win that game, but there are no
I,
givens.
yeah, I don't know about
There
that.
are no
We'll get
givens
into
with
yeah,
New Orleans at home, though, at home. But that being said, if Tampa Bay can win this game, they will be tied with the Falcons and with the Saints. If the Saints win, it'll be a three-way tie at 6-7 with 4 games to go. And if the Bucks lose this game, they are effectively done. They will be 2 games behind the Falcons, and it's curtains pretty much at that point. I'll
yeah,
preview a little bit of what we have in our pick 5 tonight. I love Tampa Bay in this spot. I think they have the better quarterback. I think they have the better distribution to skill position players. I think they're coming off of a win. So, I mean, Atlanta, you beat the Jets. Congratulations. Throw a party, whatever. Um,
yeah.
and same with Tampa Bay. They beat the Panthers, but this is a divisional game. I feel like they'll easily get up to. The spread can be had at 2.5 on FanDuel. I would advise anybody if they want to get look ahead lines to go ahead and grab that before it gets down to 1.5.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually think, Tampa's the side on this game. I think that they're in a more of a win now scenario kinda than, Atlanta right now. I know Atlanta coming into this game is gonna wanna take advantage and get that 2-win lead in the division, but I think right now Tampa, they're like you said, they're still fighting, for a chance to even win the division, so I feel like Tampa's probably the side, like you said, I think they have the better quarterback. Mike Evans has been playing really well. The defense, when it does show up is really good. Same with Atlanta too. Their defense has been playing really well, but I think it's crazy to sit here and say that I trust, when it comes to these 2 quarterbacks, I do trust Baker Mayfield more than I do Desmond Ritter. So, and listen, Atlanta has a lot of playmakers on the offensive side. It's just like you said, the distribution to those players. I don't trust Ritter at all. He hasn't shown me anything this year to kind of disprove me on that. So Tampa probably is a side on this one. I'm liking them. We'll get back to this one in our pick five, like you said. But I'd probably lean the under as well. The last time they played was kind of a tight game, division game. So, I feel like that's always something we always talk about. It always seems like they always hit the under. So probably going to lean the under on this one at 41. But Tampa Bay, I feel like it's probably the play on this side. And if they win, dude, that's crazy. A three-way tie, especially if the Saints win. Tampa and Atlanta will both have the same division record. So, a lot of these games are kind of coming down to the wire in terms of divisions, especially with the South, because it just seems like right now the South is so wide open. It feels like it's anyone's division. But yeah, I'm liking Tampa in this one. I feel like this is a must win for them. Like you said, if they want to stay alive in winning the division. So yeah, I'm liking Tampa in this one.
I'm muted this whole time. It's an important game.
No, you're good.
It's an important game to get into the wild card too, is what I was saying, because the Rams and the Packers are sitting inside at 6-6 because right now you'd only be a half game out with a win, given that record would still be 6-6, even though the Seahawks and the Rams are sitting on the outside looking in.
Well, I mean, and also too with Atlanta, if they lose, they're not entirely out of the playoff picture because
Absolutely not.
because they have the win over the Packers, so they would have that tiebreaker if it came down to both of them making the last wild card spot. So it's going to be a pretty interesting game with this one.
If they lose and New Orleans wins, like I said, it's a three-way tie for first at the top of that division. I do think that the Saints and the Falcons have yet to play each other again. They're going to play each other again.
It's the last game of the season. Yeah.
I don't think Tampa Bay has played Atlanta twice. Or no, they have. I'm saying I don't think Tampa Bay has played New Orleans twice.
Yeah, they played us like week 4, I think, something like that. So we have them in like 2 weeks, I feel like.
Yeah, Tampa Bay still has to know that's week 17 on New Year's Eve.
Oh, okay. So we play. Okay.
So Tampa Bay still has 3 divisional games left, including this one. Maybe they'll be able to catch the Jaguars in week 16 without Trevor Lawrence. But if I know anything about Trevor Lawrence, I'm going to go ahead and doubt that. Denver at the Chargers. The Chargers are laying 2.5. The total is 44. I think this total is a little too high. We could be saying that just because of what we saw. I mean, dude, the Chargers-Patriots game this past week was the most unwatchable game of the NFL season. Take all of the unwatchable games this season. That one was the most unwatchable. The best part about the Chargers-Patriots game, did you see the videos of the guy sitting outside that did the chugging beer contests where he would –
Yeah, I saw that.
Oh, that was the best part of the game. And it took place outside of the stadium. This guy sat outside of the stadium and said, I'll put $100 up and you only have to give me 20 if you can chug a beer faster than me. And this dude would be like, okay, go. All right, it's gone. That is how fast he would chug these beers. You got to see that video if you haven't. Oh, my God. That guy is incredible. I'd put him up against anyone on planet Earth. To this game, both of these teams are under 500 against the spread. Both of these teams are under 500 in their respective positions as far as away and at home. Denver is 2-3 on the road. The Chargers are 2-4 at home. So something's going to have to give. I don't feel spectacular about either side. I would probably lean Denver just because I'm not laying points with Brandon Staley. Like, sorry. Like, until this guy is not walking around with the Denny's menu on the sideline anymore, I'm not betting the Chargers unless I have a lot of points that are coming back with it. That being said, I can't really feel that great about Denver either. They're dead last in the NFL defending the run, but the Chargers next to last defending the
And
pass.
yeah. Yeah.
However, the Chargers can't run the ball, and the Broncos can't
I was
pass
just
the
about to
ball.
say that.
So,
Oh,
like, I mean, where does the give come from? You'd have to lean the side that's getting points, and that's the Denver Broncos in this matchup.
yeah, I don't even understand how this game is set at 44, dude. Give me the under on this game. Like,
Yeah,
both offenses are just so inconsistent. Um, defensive wise, yes, both defenses are pretty bad, but I trust the Broncos defense a little bit more because they've been, but besides some earlier games this year, I feel like they've kind of picked it up defensively. Um, so I feel like a lot of their numbers are a little bit buffed up because of how bad their defense started out this season. But yeah, I feel like this is going to be an ugly game. I feel like this is kind of a revenge game, and I know at first when you hear it, it's going to sound a little bit weird. Revenge game for Sean Payton, because I'm telling you right now, Sean Payton wanted that job in LA. He wanted to be the Chargers head coach, but the Chargers front office was like, "Nah, we're going to stick with fucking Staley. We're going to stick with mediocrity." And he had to settle for the job in Denver. So I feel like this is kind of a game where he's like, you know what, fuck you guys. You didn't want to trade for me. You didn't want to get rid of Staley's ass. I'm about to beat on y'all's asses. So I kind of feel like this might be a little bit of a revenge game for Sean Payton because and listen, he kind of talked about it extensively how he wanted a job where he wanted a stable quarterback, someone he could really build off of. And a lot of the rumors were towards the Chargers. So I feel like this is kind of a game where he's going to be like kind of spit in the Chargers' face and be like, "Yeah, this is what you're missing out on." But but I don't necessarily know if Denver's defense will be able to kind of well, I don't know yet again because we sit and we talk about Justin Herbert and how great he is. These past few weeks, he hasn't really done too much. And I know that is, that does have a lot to do with his receivers, not really making any catches. Quentin Johnson, ugh. If
God,
I'm a Chargers fan,
get
dude, if
this
I'm a
guy
Chargers
out of
fan,
town.
I'm ready to jump a bridge, dude, because
Trade
fucking
him.
it's crazy, man. It's crazy that they took him over Zay Flowers,
Flowers.
over Tank Dell. I mean, like Tank Dell wasn't, a really high draft, prospect, but like you just look back
Oh
on
my
it and you go,
God.
man, there's so many opportunities to take skilled players that were better than Johnson, and he's been looking really bad.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what's going on with him, but yeah, I don't know. I think this might be another ugly game as well. If Denver's defense doesn't show up, I'm not really even counting on the Chargers defense to show up. They just haven't showed up all season. So hopefully this is one step closer to Staley being out of there. And also another big thing too that I feel like a lot of people haven't really talked about. Kellen Moore, what has he really done as an OC? Like I had a lot of high expectations for him coming in and being able to bring a little more life to this Chargers offense, and it's just not been the case. Um, I don't know
They were
exactly what's going on. I
they're
thought,
right outside the top 10 in points per game and passing yards per game, but dude, the running attack is not there. I
that's the
mean,
thing. Yeah,
all of Eckler's yards are coming off screens.
yeah, and I mean that's something too. Like you said, they can't run the ball. They don't have a running back that can get between the tackles and create some kind of run game going on. So like it's weird, and especially Eckler too. This past this off season, talking about how he wanted to get paid, which I'm sure that the Chargers are so glad they did not pay him a lot of money. Or did they? I don't think they did. I think they gave
No,
him like a 1 year, like a franchise tag him, I think, or something like that.
they definitely didn't give him a long-term deal.
Yeah, so I'm sure that they're happy about that, but like even then, his decline's been kind of alarming as well. So I don't know if that has anything to do with their offensive line. It really hasn't been all that great, but yeah, just like I said, I feel like this is one game closer to Staley being out, hopefully. But yeah, ugly game. Give me Denver. Give me Denver and the under.
Don't hate either of those. I would probably lean to both of those sides as well.
Yeah.
This next one's an interesting one for me because you have a divisional game where the spread is a full 6 points smaller than it was the first time that they met. But we're in Soldier Field this time. The Lions are laying 3.5 at Chicago, and Chicago, I mean, oy vey, those last 4 minutes against the Lions the first time around needs to be studied in museums because of how awful they were and how quickly they allowed the Lions to come back and score 2 touchdowns and a safety.
Yeah.
I almost want to say, fuck it, I don't care, and say the Lions are the side just because the number is so much shorter and they've already kind of played like crap against them in one game this season. Maybe they've figured it out. But I still have a lot of my feelings that I did last week, like in the Lions, even though they covered that number against New Orleans. I mean, this is going to be a soft betting week for me. I feel very unsure and very not so confident in a lot of these lines this week on both the favorites and the underdogs. But if I had to lean aside, the side would probably be Detroit.
Yeah, I don't know because I feel like Chicago still has a lot to prove, and especially Justin Fields. I mean, like I feel like these last few games for Justin Fields are very important for him in terms of, what is Chicago going to do after this offseason at the quarterback position? Are they going to take a quarterback? So I feel like this is more so a game where I would probably pick Chicago. Detroit these past few weeks, I mean, yeah, sure they got up 21-0 against my Saints, but after that, they kind of let the Saints come back, and kind of, keep that game a little bit more competitive than it should have been. So, while Detroit has shown a lot of incidences of being very dominant, they've also shown a lot of cracks and letting these teams kind of sneak back into games and keep it a little bit closer than it should be. And against a Chicago team that doesn't really have nothing else to lose except for, players and coaches, fighting for their jobs. I'm kind of like in Chicago on this one. I like them covering. And I like the under too because another divisional game, which might sound crazy because 43 points, it probably could easily get turned into kind of a high scoring game because if Justin Fields has a really good game, it's he can put up a lot of points. So yeah, I I might sound, I'm like just like the Bills, it might come to bite me in my ass again, but I'm kind of leaning Chicago on this one just because I think there's a lot more at stake. And I think this is a kind of a game where, they're just going to lay it on the line against a really good, Detroit team.
Key in this game is going to be whose run defense is going to crack because we have talked a lot of shit about the Detroit Lions defense. However, they are a top 5 defense against the run. Believe it or not, Brad, the Chicago Bears
I cannot believe it.
are number 1 in the NFL stopping the run. Number 1.
Yeah, I did.
29 yards a game.
I did not expect that at all. Not at all.
However, both of these teams are also top 5 on offense when it comes to running the ball. The Lions 4th in the NFL, the Bears 3rd. So, I mean, that's the most Chicago Bears thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, just they're 4-8. However, they're great running the ball and they're great stopping the run. That right there is the greatest. It's just the greatest Chicago Bears idiom I've ever heard. Okay. So the Houston Texans coming off of a win that they desperately needed against a red-hot Denver Broncos team. Brad, earlier this week, this line was as big as 6. You got to tell me what the hell I'm missing here.
I don't, dude. And I looked at this. I was like, "What?"
Yeah,
3.5?
The line was as big as 6. let's go ahead and take a look at the bet percentages, because how this line has moved 2.5 points in favor of the Jets. I have an idea why, but I'm not ready to kind of exclaim why. Yeah, I mean, look at this. 71% of the bets are on the Texans. 87% of the money is on the Texans. However, all of the sharps are on the Jets. But guess what? Two things. One, Vegas has been getting dog walked by the public all season long, all year. The sharps also have been betting on the Jets all season long. How the fuck has that worked out? It's not worked out great. Going back to Zach Wilson, is going back to Zach Wilson worth 2 points? I don't think so.
No,
and
not at all.
And the Texans are going to be in multiple pick fives tonight. And the only thing that scares me about it is the Texans on the road in games that they were supposed to win. For example, coming off of the 30-6 win against the Steelers, the Texans traveled to Atlanta and lost. Coming off of a bye, the Texans traveled to Carolina and handed Carolina their only win of the season. Those are the only really two big examples. The other one, when they went on the road and played the Bengals, who I don't think you could characterize as a bad team, even though at the time they had a losing record, but they needed a miracle to win that game. The Bengals were in position to win that game. They were a T. Higgins drop away from winning that game.
Yeah.
So the Texans on the road is probably where this line has moved. But come on, man. 3.5.
Yeah.
You
especially
if it was at 6, but 3.5. You gotta prove to me, if you're the Jets, you gotta prove to me that your defense can cover this number, because your offense sure as fuck isn't doing it.
No, I mean that's the thing too. Is it really because Zach Wilson is starting this week? There's no way it can be.
No way the line moved that far because of that. There's no way.
Yeah, and I don't think it's because Tank Dell is out for the year, because the Texans still have a lot of playmakers on their offense. I mean, losing Tank Dell is a pretty big thing for them, but I mean, you still have Nico Collins. Yeah, Singletary's been playing really well at the running back position. You have Schultz. So I really don't understand why this has moved so much. I can't, like you said, it just can't be because of Zach Wilson. This is crazy. I don't understand it. Give me Houston. They're going to hit it like a motherfucker. The Jets have not shown me anything this year to, boost confidence in me to, pick them, in terms of this. I don't understand. I don't think I've seen anything like this where, if it is because of Zach Wilson, I can't believe a bum-ass quarterback like Zach Wilson has moved it so much. Especially a guy who just lost his job a couple weeks ago, and now it's just like, hey, you want to be the starting quarterback this week? Yeah, sure. Yeah, you be the starting quarterback. Let's go get a guy off the streets to be the quarterback.
How's he going to have any confidence?
I don't know. And that's my thing too. Like, you keep on bringing out these quarterbacks to start for you week by week. It's like, soon as just like, none of them will have any confidence. They're going to go out there, play bad, and you're just going to continuously throw them out there. But I don't understand how they laid this spread, dude. That is crazy. I don't get it. But give me Houston like a motherfucker. Lay them.
Yeah, lay them. Normally, like, it would scare the shit out of me to see this line move in the fashion that it has. And I mean, if Josh were here, I guarantee you he would say the Jets are the side. But they're not. They're not. Maybe at 6. Maybe at 6. Because this line was at 6 earlier this week.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's moved almost 3 points. Like, give me a break.
Crazy.
Houston Texans to the moon.
Yeah.
Seattle looks to further save the damage that has been done to its season. Is this a must win for them? Because they got to play Philadelphia next week. They're at San Francisco. Sip, San Francisco is laying 11 at home
Yeah.
after San Francisco dogged them at Lumen Field 2 weeks ago. Now you got to turn around and play back. I won't lie to you, Brad. I do feel like Seattle is probably the side at plus 11 because it's a divisional game.
Yeah.
But I don't know how a Seattle bettor could have confidence in that, given
Yeah.
while I pull this up, I want to pull up the last 5 times these two teams have played. Because you had like I said, the dog walking on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
All right. So let's see it. Seattle and San Francisco. Yikes. So
That
one,
doesn't boost the
one, 2, 3, 4. So the last 4 times it's been 49ers 27, Seahawks 7, 49ers 21, Seahawks 13. In the playoffs last year, 49ers 41, Seahawks 23. So they won by 20, 18, 18. They've won by 18 3 games in a row. 21-13, or sorry, 18 2 games in a row. And they won by 8 in the latter half of 2022. And they won by 20 in the first game in 2022. Before that, it was being dominated by Seattle. Seattle had won 5 of 6. But at this point, the 49ers have taken the reins in this series. And other than the second game in last year, where the 49ers won all 3, the 49ers have covered this number in all of them. So I could see why the spread is that high, but it's a divisional game. The system will tell you to take Seattle plus 11. I know you like it.
Yeah, I'm liking Seattle at first it was at 10.5, and then you found it at 11. So I was like, yeah, I like that even a little bit more. Divisional game. I know Seattle's kind of got their asses kicked, the past few times, like you said, against San Francisco. But usually when that happens, there'll be that one game where it kind of breaks the mold, and they kind of play a little bit better and keep it a little bit close. I liked a lot what I saw from Seattle against Dallas. I thought, they offensively, it looked like they were clicking a little bit more. Gino, looked pretty solid I feel like probably his best game this year against Dallas. And against a Dallas team that's, defensively has been playing pretty well. DK looked really good. Jackson Smith-Njigba looked really good.
Whoa. Did you say a Dallas defense that's been playing pretty well?
I mean, listen, I feel like they have been, but like I do understand it. They have been giving up a lot of points here recently. But I feel like it was a scenario where Seattle's offense was kind of just clicking that in a way that they really haven't been consistently this season. So I don't know. I'm liking Seattle to cover the spread on this one. 11, that is a lot of points, especially for a division game. I understand, like you said, how, San Francisco has kind of just blown them out the water, their previous matchups. But usually, like I said, the trend is usually that happens, and then there'll be that one game where they keep it a little bit more competitive. And I probably would lean the under just because both these teams hate each other. It's a division game. These games usually get pretty nasty, so kind of like the under on it. Which is crazy to say because I was just talking about how Seattle's offense has been kind of clicking, and so San Francisco's. They look like the best team in the NFC by a mile. I feel like so. Yeah, I'm leaning towards Seattle just because I think that's a lot of points in a divisional game, but I could be wrong. I could be very wrong, but we shall see.
I mean, man, like 11 is a big number. It's the biggest number or second biggest number of the week. We'll get into the biggest number here shortly, but it's a very big number against a team that very well. And, to that effect, it most of the time doesn't work well for the big favorite. Minnesota is giving Josh Dobbs what I would presume to be one last hurrah, because if it looks like how it did 2 weeks ago against the Bears as they travel and lay 3 at the Raiders, Here's another quarterback matchup, a typical NFL Week 14 quarterback matchup. Josh Dobbs on his third team in 16 weeks
versus
versus
Aiden
Aiden
O'Connell.
O'Connell.
Oh, ugly, dude.
Welcome to Week 14 in the NFL.
Yeah.
The Raiders are catching 3. The total is 40. And I'll tell you right now, the Raiders are the side. They were in my pick 5. I subbed them out at the last second for a little bit of a better number for somebody else. But make no mistake about it, the Raiders are the side. They are 4-2 at home this season. The Vikings have played very well on the road, but I think that this team in Vegas plays their ass off for Antonio Pierce. I think that they can run the ball against a very good Vikings rush defense. It's going to be who turns the ball over more. Both of these teams are 29th and 27th, respectfully, in turnover differential. So, I don't know. You give me Vegas getting 3 at home against a Minnesota team that looks like they were inept against the Bears at home a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Coming off of the bye, it does scare me a little bit. However, I do like this fight that the Raiders, or the fight rather, that this Raiders team has put into games under Antonio Pierce. I gotta side with them in the points at home +3.
Yeah. Also, is Justin Jefferson, is he playing this week? I know he came
I
off.
do feel like this is the game that he's back.
Yeah, which I mean, that's another big factor to bring in.
I don't know if it's been it's looking like he is. I don't know if it's been officially announced, but looking at the injury report, all signs do point toward him making his return this week.
Okay, so that's a big factor. I don't know how ready he'll be. I don't know how big of a factor he'll be into this game because I don't know if they want to just fully thrust him back into the game and have him, get all the targets and whatnot in this game. So I think it'll be a gradual, kind of welcome back for Jefferson. But I'm kind of with you. I mean, I feel the side is Vegas, and I think the biggest reasoning why is because of the run game. Minnesota has no run game whatsoever, so they're constantly relying on Josh Dobbs to play kind of hero ball for them offensively. And as much as I like Josh Dobbs, he's not that kind of quarterback. He's not going to, you're not going to win a lot of games when your quarterback is consistently being the one that needs to lead your offense. You have to have some kind of consistent run game going on. Minnesota has not found that this year with Madison, and I know Cam Akers got hurt, so that's another factor of their rush attack that's kind of missing. Whereas Vegas, they kind of set up O'Connell to where he doesn't have to be that. He'll throw about maybe 20 passes a game. If it becomes a shootout or something like that, maybe 25. But they put him in positions where he doesn't have to play that hero ball, where he doesn't have to be the guy that throws the ball 35 times. They have a reliable running back in Josh Jacobs that can, carry the load. So I'm kind of liking Vegas. Like you said, they play really hard for their interim head coach. What was his name again? The Raiders interim head coach right now.
Antonio Pierce.
Yeah, Antonio Pierce. They're playing really, really good against, coached by him. So I'm liking the Raiders in this one. I probably lean the under just because I think both defenses are, a little bit better than what they are on paper. So yeah, I'd probably lean towards Vegas and the under on it.
Yeah, the total feels high.
Yeah.
40.
Yeah.
Feels a little high. Let's talk about the renaissance of the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah.
I made a TikTok earlier this week about one of our clips about officiating. I might have to go back and cook my ass on what I said 3 weeks ago when I declared because, dude, Josh and I went to fight for this team, went to fight for this coach, and went to fight for this quarterback time and time again for the first 9 weeks of the season. And I declared them dead in week 11 going into the Chargers game. I declared them dead. I laid the points with the Chargers on this podcast and in real life. And what have they done since? They have beaten the Chargers, beat the Lions on Thanksgiving on the road, and while we could expand on my fucking, I don't even know. I really I have so many words going through my head right now. I don't even know how to characterize it. The soliloquy I gave on officiating only got worse last
Yeah.
week, and it was at a pinnacle in the Packers and Chiefs game. Nonetheless, the Packers won that game. Jordan Love beat Patrick Mahomes in prime time. And the Packers have won 3 straight. And their next 3 games are Giants, Buccaneers, Panthers.
Yeah.
We could be looking at a team that's going to be 9-6.
Yeah.
And the Giants are catching 6.5 at MetLife on our third of the season, double dip Monday night. 2 Monday night games for the third time this year.
Yeah, what was the last one?
Week 2 and week 3. Week 3
Yeah.
was Eagles, Bucks, and there was another one, but I can't remember what it was. The Giants, I do like kind of how they have brought themselves back from the dead as well, but they don't want to win this game.
No.
The Packers need this game. I love the Packers in this game. I love the Packers first half spread more than anything. It's at 3.5. You can get it at 3 if you look a little bit closer and squint your eyes. The total is pretty low at 36.5. However, I don't know if the Giants are going to be able to score enough to get over that number.
No, and I mean, right now, Green Bay's been playing really well offensively and defensively. So I don't know if the Giants can really will be able to put a lot of points against a Green Bay, defense that's kind of come back to life a little bit. I love Green Bay in this game. Like you said, we all kind of thought, Green Bay was kind of dead in the water. I think a lot of my confidence in Jordan Love was kind of shrunken down a little bit because he just wasn't playing up to the capabilities that I thought he could. And I mean, to be fair, too, his weapons weren't really helping him out either early on in the year. But man, they've kind of caught fire out of nowhere. I feel like they've been playing really well, and especially for Jordan Love, who coming into the season there was a whole lot of talk of is he going to be the next guy? Can he be the next guy? And so far, he's been playing like it. Like he's been playing really well, and kind of showcasing that the Packers might have another great quarterback, for the next 10 years. If he keeps on playing like this, which is just absurd, to think that they had Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, and now possibly have a really good Jordan Love. Unfair, dude. Unfair. But like you said, I think this is a must win for Green Bay if they want to keep their playoff hopes alive. And and stay competitive within the NFC. I know there's been a lot of talks to, well, could they maybe win the division? I don't think so, just because Detroit has, kind of a pretty large margin in terms of wins, in the division for the lead. So I don't necessarily think they could win the division, but I think they could realistically get themselves a playoff spot and kind of make some noise in the playoffs if they get in. So I don't know. I've been loving what I'm seeing from Green Bay. They've been playing really well. The Giants, like you said, they're such a mixed bag. Tommy DeVito, you think he's a real quarterback? You
No.
think no? No, he has been playing pretty good though. I will say, like he hasn't been playing that bad.
Dude, I mean, he made throws against the Patriots that were like, wow. Like,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
However, no.
No, he'll be a solid backup quarterback in the league.
I think that's probably right.
Yeah. Hey, that's not a bad thing. There's a lot of good quarterbacks in the league that make a lot of money off being backup. So
love to be a clipboard holder. Maybe in any year other than this one, when we have Josh Dobbs and Aiden O'Connell and Jake Browning and CJ Beathard and all these guys start.
Yeah. It's also telling too, because Tyrod Taylor, he's coming off IR, so he's ready to go and they're not going back to him. So It's pretty telling that, they do have some kind of confidence in DeVito, so that's
Yeah.
pretty cool to see. But yeah, no, I don't see the Giants really even sniffing a win in this one, just because I think the Packers right now are just on a roll. And like you said, this is a pretty important game for them to win so they can continue to stay in the hunt for the wild card spot.
They're going to stay in the hunt. And let me declare it right now. And I hope, Packers fans wouldn't see me as a curse, because I sure as shit was wrong about them 3 weeks ago, and God help them if I'm wrong about them now. They're going to be in the playoffs.
I
They're
think so
going
too.
they're going to
Yeah.
absolutely be in the
Yeah.
playoffs, because
Especially
they
with their
take care of
schedule coming
business.
up.
Yeah, they take care of business the next 3 weeks. They're going to be 9-6.
Yeah. That'll easily get you a playoff spot. I feel like
Yeah.
that'll easily get you one.
Yep. And then you have the Vikings and the Bears after that. So, yeah, I'm liking their chances heavily. Yeah. Biggest number of the week. Miami hosting Tennessee, and Miami once again is laying a massive number at 13, over under 46.5. I love the under. I absolutely love the under, because I don't think Tennessee is scoring, and I think Tennessee's defense is good enough. The total is 46.5, by the way. I don't think Tennessee is scoring a bunch, and I don't think Tennessee's defense is going to give up a whole lot of what Miami likes to do in the aerial attack. And Tyreek Hill is going to do whatever he wants, fine. But I just think 46.5 is a lot here, and they're probably giving it a lot of credence to Miami. But I mean, look at the last time Miami played at home. It was against the Raiders, and I mean that total, or they only scored 34 points total in that game. It was what, 21-13.
Yeah. Yeah.
Give me the under in this game, under 46.5.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you too. I feel like the under is probably the play in this one. Um, in terms of Miami's defense, I think they've been playing really well. So, like you said, I don't really see a scenario where Tennessee kind of puts up a whole lot of points. Miami will probably get out to a big lead and just keep it at that. Tennessee's rush defense is really good, but Miami really doesn't lean on that much. And they'll definitely take advantage of how weak the Titans secondary is. Like you said, Tyreek, he's about to have another fucking huge ass day. I feel like anything Tyreek related, take the over on it, because he's just going to exceed it to what it is set at. So, yeah, and listen, 13 points is a lot, but at the same time, I think this is a Miami team that we've seen it consistently. They beat up on mid teams to like bad teams in the league. So I would probably take the spread at 13, just because, like I said, I don't think Tennessee's going to be able to even score that much.
It's a big
So
number.
it is a big number. And, we were just talking about, Seattle, how they're sitting at, minus plus 11. But Tennessee last week just didn't look all that great. It seemed like Levis still has some communication issues.
Oh my God. How did they not win that game?
Yeah, I don't understand it. But
2 block punts
it
in a
seemed,
row. Have you ever seen that in
yeah,
your life?
no, and they still lose. I don't get, dude. I
My
don't get
God.
it. And it seems like Levis still has some communication issues with his receivers, which as a young rookie, you're going to have those. I feel like a lot throughout the season. So I don't know. I feel like Miami right now, like I said, they beat up on really bad to mid teams. This is another bad to mid team with the Titans. So I know it sounds crazy. Give me the Titan. I mean, give me the Dolphins to cover the spread and the under on it.
Saints -5 at home.
Yeah.
Hosting the future number 1 pick holding team. Psych. They traded it. Carolina Panthers. Psych. The Saints. This has got to be the biggest number they've laid this season at 5.
Yeah.
They would not be laying this number anywhere but the Caesar Superdome. And 37.5 is the total. Feels right about like 21-16,
Yeah.
like 24-13, like feels about right. But in both of those cases, if it were the Saints to be the victor, that's either a Saints push or a Saints cover.
Yeah.
I know I'm on the opposite side of what you and Josh think here, but like I would love a carrot. So I'm gonna start taking this approach. I did it last week. I waited for the Bucks to score first, and then I pounced on Carolina plus 10.5 live, and that ended up covering.
Yeah.
3.5 did not, plus 10.5 did. I will likely keep my eye on this game and wait for the Saints to score first. And then once the Saints go up 7-0, I'll pounce on Carolina at like an 11 or a 12. That's the only way I'm playing this game.
Yeah. I mean, but here's the thing. I'm not even confident to say that the Saints are going to be able to score first. Every game this season, they've come out slow. They come out slow. Even in the week 2 game that I was at when they played Carolina, they came out slow.
Oh, so slow.
And the thing is, they consistently do it every game. So like, I don't think there's a scenario where they cover this spread because it's a divisional game. Offensively, they haven't really shown much rhythm, and especially in the red zone. I know this past week against the Lions, they went like what 4 for 4 in the red zone. That to me, that doesn't spark any kind of confidence in me as a fan because just overall for the whole season they've been atrocious in the red zone. So I know Derek Carr is dealing with some injuries. So, that's I know he's been practicing. So I know that he's kind of trending to play. But he didn't really look all that great against Carolina in week 2. And there hasn't been any growth in his play or the team's overall play to make me suggest that this is going to be a different outcome than it was in week 2 because this is the exact same team week 2 as it is, week 14. So I'm leaning Carolina in this one. I know that sounds crazy, but New Orleans just at this point has not sparked any confidence in me as a fan. And this could be a very dangerous game for the Saints because if they lose this game, you're
Woo!
going to I don't I do not see a scenario if you lose this game how Dennis Allen is your head coach Monday morning. That it just cannot happen.
The only
There's
way that he
absolutely
is, the only way that he is if Tampa Bay wins and they're still a game out,
oh
because
yeah,
you don't
but
want to fire your coach when you're a game out of a playoff spot with 4 games to go. But if Atlanta wins,
yeah,
and the Saints lose, and the Saints will be done. If Atlanta wins
oh
and the
yeah,
Saints lose, it's done.
yeah.
And at that point, yeah, yeah,
I mean,
I
I,
can
I
see it.
think even if Atlanta if we lose and Atlanta loses, I don't see it. I mean, I know you haven't really kept track of it, but the season ticket holders are starting to sell all their tickets. I think right now you can get a ticket like really close up to the stands for like $25. Like it's becoming very bad. You had a lot of boos going on in the Superdome against, the Lions. There were more Lions fans than there were Saints fans. I think if you lose this game, I think this is the tipping point. I think this is when players start really coming out and publicly, calling out coaches. I think, you start seeing fans be way more vocal. And I think you see a scenario where Mickey Loomis's back is against the wall and there's just absolutely nothing he can do except find someone to, kind of become the scapegoat and get fired. I mean, Pete Carmichael
Or
could get
let's get
fired.
a new GM. Let's get a
That's
new GM.
I'm telling you right now. I'm telling you right now. There hasn't been much, talk about Mickey Loomis
I
because
don't know why.
all the blame has been kind of put on Dennis Allen. And don't get me wrong, Dennis Allen fucking sucks, and so does Pete Carmichael and Derek Carr. But didn't Mickey Loomis is the one who made all these choices. He's the one
Correct.
that let Dennis Allen build the team that he wanted. He's the one that signed Derek Carr to this big deal. at some point you're going to have to start pointing fingers at Mickey Loomis too, because he's been making some terrible, terrible choices after Sean Payton left. So I don't know. I feel like if they do lose this game, this is the huge tipping point that I think a lot of us Saints fans have been kind of seeing coming. But I mean, this is a game that you shouldn't lose. Like, if you cannot lose this game, especially like you said, a lot of the implications coming into this game, you have to win this game to stay alive in the division. And it's a Carolina team that's not really good. They're not good, so you got to win this game. But I still like Carolina to cover just because division game. Last time they played, it was a really close game. I would probably lean the under as well because with Carr being hurt, that's going to limit a lot of what he can do. And whatever he really does, I don't even know what he does, but but yeah, no, yeah, give me the under and give me Carolina to cover.
All right. There's all 15 games minus the shit show we're about to see in 15 minutes. As we move to the pick 5, Josh and I were tied going into last week. Josh scored 0 points, and I not only failed to capitalize, I lost ground. I went 0-5, and that brings me to 2-8 in the last 2 weeks. And my 28-22 record has now become 30-30. Josh, however, being that he was not able to score any points, only clings to a 2-point lead. Josh with 30. I have 28. Brad with the best week of all three of us, and I'm putting it on the screen now. Brad went 3-2. Brad went 3-2.
Still can't hit those upsets, dude. Still
Finally
can't hit them.
Locked, but yeah. I mean, it was always the Texans. I bet on the Texans on Sunday of that week, but
yeah.
So let's get to it. Josh is not here tonight, so we'll go ahead and name off his picks first. Josh is on the under tonight, as any wise man would be. If you take the over in this game, I mean, I don't know. Maybe you'll be a prophet. Under 30.5 in the Steelers-Patriots. He likes Cleveland -3 against CJ Beathard, which, I mean, it feels pretty right. If it doesn't grow to 3.5 by Sunday, I may have to follow him on it in real life.
Yeah.
The Chargers -2.5. Don't know why you'd ever lay points with Brandon Staley, but that's what he's doing. His lock. I wish I had a stat right now on how many times Josh has lost picking Carolina this year. But he picks Carolina as his lock and the points. And Indianapolis, as you'll see as a trend, is his upset. To me, I'm in agreement with him on the Patriots and the Steelers under 30.5. You got to, like I said earlier, you got to tell me why the Texans are 3.5-point favorites. I don't care about the reverse line movement. You tell me all of these. You tell me all of this jargon that has to do with Vegas. I normally respect it. Reverse line movement, closing line value, all of that. I mean, you never bet with the public. The public has been taking Vegas to the woodshed all season long.
Yeah.
Give me the Texans -3.5. My original upset was Tampa Bay. When I found out you could get them at 2.5 against the Falcons, I went ahead and switched them into my pick 5 as a 2.5-point play with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Like I said earlier, I think they have the better quarterback. I think that they're able to get it to their best players a little bit better. Let's just hope that the defense doesn't allow a whole lot of cracks against the Falcons. My lock. I have been burned betting first half spreads on this podcast all season long. Last week, my lock was Dallas -5.5 first half. Give me Green Bay -3.5 first half against the Giants. I could see the Giants being scrappy. I could see the Giants, playing for, their jobs and all that other shit that you talked about with the Raiders. I just think Green Bay is on a mission right now. Yeah. I have been burned betting Green Bay all season in a position where they are my lock. Please do not let me down again. And in lock unity, the Indianapolis Colts are also my upset, as well as everybody else on this podcast. Brad, take it away.
Yeah, so I'm with Davison with Houston minus 3.5. I do not. I feel like this is free money right here. This is you throw your whole house on this shit. Like I do not understand how the Jets went from 6 to 3.5 in the matter of a few days. I cannot believe it's because of Zach Wilson. So I don't know, but I feel like this is I probably should have put this as my lock, but I'll stick it right there for now at 3.5 with Houston. Seattle plus 11. Division game. I know we talked a little bit how, San Francisco's kind of, dominated a lot of these games in previous past, but I feel like this game is going to be a little bit more different. Seattle's still fighting for a playoff spot. So, and 11 is a lot of points. So I'm going to take Seattle at 11, Denver at plus 2.5. I don't trust the Chargers whatsoever. Between Staley and Sean Payton, give me the better coach in Sean Payton. While Denver, laid a goose egg last week, I feel like they're kind of primed to, get a bounce back week against a division opponent. So give me Denver at plus 2.5. And then Tampa plus 2.5. I think it's the same scenario kind of with Denver. I like the coach a little bit more. I like the quarterback a little bit more. I trust the defense a little bit more. And I feel like it's just a must win for Tampa if they want to keep their hopes alive at winning the division and even possibly maybe sneaking in a wild card spot as well. So give me Tampa at plus 2.5. And then, like you talked about, there's not really much to be said. I'm taking the Colts in my upset. I like them in the matchup. We're all in agreement. So hopefully I do not sink the ship because I absolutely suck at upsets. So hopefully all of us being in agreement will unify it and I'll get my first upset this year.
Let's hope for it. We love
Yeah.
Indianapolis on the spot, and let's hope that comes through, man. Great pod tonight. I'm happy to do it with you, bro. And hopefully next week we'll have all three of us here. Until then, for Bradley Davis and myself, we will see you next week.
See you.